All right, so thanks everyone for coming. We're going to do basically an hour sort of presentation on the risks, and then talk about what we can do about actually preventing a lot of the harms of AI. And then after that, we'll do a sort of Q&A and sort of a conversation. But we're just going to sort of try and get through the first part, and then we'll have more of a dialogue after. So yeah, just quick introductions. We're Stop AI. My name's Sam. I found out about AI back in like 2016, or started worrying about it when I read this book called Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom, who's sort of a philosopher in the field of AI. And that book is sort of talking about how you could possibly like control the behavior of something smarter than all of humanity. That's artificial superintelligence. And I thought that was maybe a doable thing back then, but as time progressed, it just seemed like that wasn't really possible. And now it really seems like that's the case. And we're very worried that that smarter than human system is going to cause very bad outcomes here very, very soon. Have a bit of a background in mechanical and electrical engineering, and started protesting to sort of stop AI like roughly a year ago.
I'm Finn. I read the same book, Superintelligence. Not everyone in the organization has read the same book and started this book as a thing. And also was like worried about it. Was like, okay, I guess something smarter than humans is going to come somewhere this century. But I was like, okay, I'll just go study it. It's probably a bit away. Like it's probably still going to take a couple of years. And back then, experts did say that it like would take a long time before we got there. And then so I did a bachelor's in artificial intelligence, learned about it, was even more worried after. Then ChatGPT came out and I was like, oh, okay, this is going really fast. And the experts were also like, okay, it's shorter, it's coming faster than we thought at first. So got really worried about it, started a master's, but quit my master's to do something about AI full-time, and now I'm here. So from the Netherlands, that's my accent. So I'm over here to help you. Yeah.
So we'll do a roughly 30-minute tech talk, and then the rest will be primarily, hopefully, on what we can do about it. So why are we here? Stop AI, just to give you a rough idea of who we are, is we're a group that wants to permanently ban the development of artificial general intelligence. And artificial general intelligence is roughly defined as AI systems that are more technically able than all human experts across all domains. So
it's like you can imagine there's like AI that's very good at chess, there's AI that's very good at certain aspects of biology, but humans can do sort of a wide range of things. And so the holy grail of what AI is looking for is something that can, like humans, do a general set of tasks. And so that's this artificial general intelligence, and they're doing very well with getting to that point. So that's what we're generally most afraid of.
And then once you have AGI, that's sort of AI that's, like Finn said, more generally intelligent than humans at everything. That can lead to superintelligence, or in other words, like digital God. Imagine like the gap of intelligence between us and ants. It'd be like we're the ants, and it would be the humans. Except that gap of intelligence could be exponentially bigger. And experts agree that once that system is built, you cannot shut it down. And we're just very worried that it might, in the future, want something that would lead to our extinction sort of inadvertently. And we also are very worried about mass job loss, sort of more current harms, not just this sci-fi threat of extinction, which hopefully right now seems sci-fi, but at the end of this will not seem so sci-fi. And then, prevent sort of the debasing of democracy if deepfakes are widely spread on the internet. We don't know what's real and what's not real anymore online. Deepfakes is just when they sort of video fake someone saying something when they didn't say it using AI. And then primarily, we're just worried about our loved ones. These companies openly admit that what they're building could threaten everyone's lives, and we're not okay with that. And one more important point, Stop AI is a peaceful, non-violent civil resistance movement. We are not considering violence. Violence will never work in this scenario, and that's the end of that. So, all right. So what do experts say? So way back in the 50s, there was this guy named Alan Turing. He basically invented the modern programmable electronic computer. And I mean, even back then, he sort of knew that AI would maybe eventually take over. So he said, once the machine thinking method had started, it would not take long to outstrip our feeble powers. At some stage, therefore, we should have to expect the machine to take control. And Alan Turing famously came up with this Turing test idea to figure out if you're talking to a computer or a human, and we basically no longer know with ChatGPT. ChatGPT basically passed the Turing test. This is Geoffrey Hinton. He has a PhD in the field of AI. He's one of the godfathers of AI, modern AI, if you will. And he just won the Nobel Prize for his work in the field. First person ever to win a Nobel Prize for, their work in AI. And yeah, he resigned from his job at Google. And did he say he regrets his life's work, or was that Benji?
That's Hinton.
Yeah. Hinton said he regrets his life's work, and he's now spreading awareness about the risks of AI. So here's what he says on the percent chance that we could all die from superintelligence. Yeah.
Are you, at the end of the day, as concerned as you are, optimistic that we can find a way forward that is a good one for humanity?
I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I have friends who think we're more likely than not we'll find a way forward because people are very ingenious. But superintelligence is very ingenious too. So because there's other people who think 50-50 will be exaggerating it, I think we've got a better than even chance of surviving this. But it's not like there's only a 1% chance of it taking over. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah. So that is just fundamentally not okay. 50-50, a coin flip, everyone lives or dies, is crazy. And that's not an empirical number, that's just his guess. And really that's the best guess out there, because he sort of invented the modern field of AI. Here's Stephen Hawking, everyone knows Stephen Hawking.
Now, when you watch software engineers and machine learning experts at work, as they have been on this project, how far along the path to artificial intelligence do you think we are?
The primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already had proved very useful. But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. Once humans develop artificial intelligence, it would take off on its own and redesign itself at an ever-increasing rate. Humans, who are limited by slow biological evolution, couldn't compete and would be superseded.
Yeah, so the point where he's talking about it taking off on its own and sort of improving itself, we're going to get to that later, but that's a really important thing to focus on. This is a poll of expert opinion on what they think the percent risk of smarter than human systems for causing very bad outcomes will be. It was done so it's 2,700 AI researchers who have been cited for their work that's been published. And they were asked, what probability do you put on human inability to control future advanced AI systems causing human extinction or similarly permanent and severe disempowerment of the human species? And the mean response is 19%. So that's like Russian roulette odds. And also important to note, this number is very biased. All these people who were polled want AI. They're actively working towards it. They're not just some randomized group. So this number you have to assume is very low.
Yeah, just sort of anecdotally, I sort of had this path for me in the beginning, I'll become an AI researcher, I'll teach this stuff, and then I'll do some research myself. Then I thought through it, and I was worried about this stuff. I was like, okay, say best case scenario, I do a real contribution to the field. And I was like, okay, that's the worst case scenario because I don't want to contribute to the field. And so I cut off that path. And so the people that are left are the people that were like, this is a good enough idea to go do. And they think it's 19% that it's like human extinction.
All right, crazy CEO quotes. It's about to get wild. All right, so this is Sam Altman. He's the CEO of OpenAI, and OpenAI is the company that we've been primarily protesting in front of. Only protesting in front of, aside from Microsoft. Yeah, so we'll just let it speak for itself.
Yeah, and also just to understand about OpenAI, OpenAI is the company leading the race right now. So they're ahead, and Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI. So this guy is leading the race to artificial intelligence. Okay.
What is your like best case scenario for AI and worst case? I mean, I think the best case is like so unbelievably good that it's like hard to. I think it's like hard for me to even imagine. And the bad case, and I think this is like important to say, is like lights out for all of us.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Yeah. So in the beginning there, he's talking about, could be unbelievably good. What he's primarily talking about is this idea that if we build AGI or some AI system that's smarter than all of us, it could potentially come up with solutions to curing cancer and fixing climate change that we can't think of. And maybe that's one reason we should build it. But it's very important to remember that if you cannot have proof that this smarter than human system will stay safe forever, then it doesn't make sense to have these benefits if it eventually turns around and kills us all. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when people talk about all these wonderful things that could happen with AGI. So here's an even more wild one. This one's crazy.
I think AI will probably, like most likely, sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created with serious machine learning.
Yeah, so
this was back in 2015. This was before he started OpenAI. So this was the year he started OpenAI.
What?
Back before he was media savvy.
Yeah, so he doesn't say this anymore because he knows to shut up. But so this is the guy leading the race.
Yeah. All right, so this is Larry Page. Larry Page founded Google, co-founded, and we're not trying to make Elon Musk look like a good guy here. He has sort of beat the drum on AI potentially causing existential risks for humanity, and he got in an argument. Musk got in an argument with Larry Page, and about sort of AI causing very bad outcomes for humanity, and Page called Musk a speciesist. So he said, like, siding with humanity, that's being a speciesist. Like being a racist, but like being a speciesist.
Oh my God.
And then Page also said, human consciousness, this is a quote from an article. Human consciousness, Musk reported, was a precious flicker of light in the universe, and we should not let it be extinguished. Page considered that sentimental nonsense. So these are and Google is, hot on the heels of OpenAI for building AGI.
And also, this is not just one crazy guy. Like this idea that humans are just a step on the ladder towards greater intelligence is a reasonably common idea in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So it's not just one. This is just a prime example of this.
Crazy common. Like they just think there's objective value in intelligence, and the most intelligent thing has a right to exist. And we're here to say that's fundamentally wrong. Like if it's going to threaten the lives of those we love, we're going to try to stop it from coming into existence.
Okay, so just quickly on that, how AI works. So there's this idea that AI is programmed. Like there's a bunch of rules. It's like if this, then this, if this, then this. And it used to be that way, but now it's different. So now what you do is you create a large digital brain, you give it a lot of data to train on, and then it learns something, but you don't know exactly what it learns. And so this thing, it's like this. So there's inputs, and then there's a bunch of numbers, and then more numbers. You multiply it by a bunch of numbers, you get more numbers. And so this is what it looks like. It's just a giant array of numbers, and so we don't know exactly what's going on inside these things, and we never will know. So it's not programming. These things can get smarter than the people that programmed them because they're just numbers. Okay.
And there's this. You want to talk about it? Well, okay. So there's this idea that like there's this thing called mechanistic interpretability in the field of AI, which tries to understand what will happen with a given input, or what will happen with output given an input. And if we can't predict what will come out accurately all the time, then that's dangerous. And some people think, maybe you can, with a high percent certainty, figure out what's going to come out of this super intelligent system or a very large system. But how are you possibly going to be able to tell what's going to come out of a neural net? This is called a neural net, artificial neural net. If it has more weights in it, which are the connections, if it has more weights in it than all of humanity has synaptic connections. Like, you're never going to be able to tell what that superintelligence is thinking. So there's no real solution to that mechanistic interpretability problem like a lot of people in AI say there is. All right, so rough history, Alan Turing, like we talked about back in the 50s, and then AI got really good at sort of winning board games and specific things like chess and beating human experts at Jeopardy and Go. And then ChatGPT, OpenAI's product, came out in roughly 2022. And then there was this point where the world sort of woke up. With ChatGPT 3.5, experts, there was a paper that showed expert prediction on when they thought AGI would arrive dropped from like 5 decades to like within 10 years after GPT 3.5 came out. And then also public polling also sort of showed that people were waking up to this threat. And that's when, you know, we all sort of got involved, was when we saw ChatGPT.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly about the numbers, but yeah, massive drop.
So yeah, where are we now in AI progress?
So what's already happening? So they did a study on on freelancing website, what's happening to jobs, and so they saw that like with engineering, there's like a 10% drop in jobs, 20% for software development, and 30% for writing jobs have seen declines. And so yeah, this is already having a real impact on jobs, which is their main economic model. This is like what they're trying to do. It's like they try to get the job market, and that's how they aim to get money. Okay, and it's working.
So here's an example of something that's happening right now that's pretty scary. There's a company in Arizona and Texas that are automating teachers basically entirely. There's no human teacher in the classroom. It's basically, there's adults in the room, but they're just babysitters. So that's terrifying. And then there's been some sort of predictions by like the World Economic Forum and some big sort of prediction markets on the amount of job loss that will happen here very shortly. And there's crazy numbers coming out. Like people are saying 41% of companies worldwide plan to reduce workforce. And just to be clear, OpenAI on their website, they say they define AGI as a system that's more economically productive and generally intelligent than most humans. They really mean all humans. But if that's the case, and they're trying to build something that's more economically productive and more generally intelligent, then what job is really going to be left? Like none. And Bill Gates actually just went on a talk show with Jimmy Fallon basically saying the same thing. Like, there's not going to be really many jobs left. And their solution to that is going and building this thing called universal basic income, where they take a portion of the superintelligence's economic output and then distributing it. But do you really think Sam Altman's going to share that money? Like, probably not. And then we're all going to starve if we don't have means of making an income. This is a rough graph of the number of jobs in the sort of image generation sector that have been lost since the onset of image generation AI tools. And this is postings dropping on like LinkedIn boards and sort of freelance boards. So there's measurable decreases in the number of sort of artist, graphic designer jobs, and rightly so. Like the people in those fields are pissed, and as they should be. So, do you want to do this one? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. So here on the right, like the World Economic Forum made some like, or the International Monetary, IMF or WEF. Anyway, one of those two made a graph of like what happens after artificial general intelligence comes, and so this is, I'll just pop over here. This is like what they think wages will look like in the years after AGI. So it's like first maybe they go up because people use it in their job to like be more productive, but then they can just be replaced. So either your wages go down if you work for lower wages, or you're just replaced. So that's just what these graphs mean.
This is just one example. It's a guy on Reddit who was basically saying he works at a news agency and he was part of the production crew, and now the entire production crew is being let go and replaced with this QAI. So not only is this bad for people who work in the field and want to have a job, it's also bad for the news cycle. Like, this is actual fake news. It's not just people with an agenda. This is, you know, someone is just typing into a prompt, you know, an AI bot, like, give me this news and feed me this, like, fake video. That's very dystopian. Like, if, you know, a few people can control what is on the news with that sort of technology, that's really bad for knowing what's actually real.
Yeah, and of course, this is not for creating fake videos, but they could do that.
Yeah, this is automating the production process, but we're actually about to show that they are able to currently make fake videos with just entering text into a prompt, into like a box, and it's getting better very quickly. And here you go.
Yeah, I think this was like back in 2015 or something. So this is like what AI image generation used to be. So just to get a feel for how things are progressing.
Yeah, and now, let's go back here. This was Will Smith eating spaghetti, like that. They typed that text into a prompt, and it gave him this video back in, what was that one?
2023.
2023, yeah. So this is Will Smith eating spaghetti in 2023 with a fake AI image generation, video generation, and now video generation for AI is here.
No.
In just a couple years, we've gone from that to this. So yeah, this still has problems, but the progress rate is horrifyingly fast.
That's it.
You have to really look.
Yep. I'm still eating the spaghetti in 2025.
Yeah, so the audio is really bad.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, so the audio is bad, but we went from that, oopsies. We went from this to that in just a couple years. And imagine a couple years from now, we will not be able to tell. And that's horrifyingly dystopian in that if someone wants to create a fake video of someone they don't like doing something they could use that video to blackmail them, that would be really bad. It's really bad for democracy in that if people are running for office and we normally rely on what they say over video to decide if we want to vote for them or not, if we can't use that as a way to, you know, decide if we want to vote for them, then the whole democratic process is screwed. Yeah.
And so here's a news video, and the text is jumbled, but you can just fix the text by just like programming this, so that's fine. It's about the video is the hard part. So
yeah. So honestly, it looks like a real video, but that's not a real video. That was just someone typing into Sora, OpenAI's video generation model, like news crew. I don't know what the actual prompt was, but like news crew talking in CCTV camera of the highway, and they got that. If you live in San Francisco, you're probably well aware of this. This is a company called Artisan who's putting out ads that basically say stop hiring humans. And here's a picture of an ad that basically says that with a homeless person sitting right next to it. So, great photo. Oh yeah. Yeah. But this is like, I don't know, these billboards are crazy. So, okay, this is Suchir Balaji. For those who don't know, Suchir Balaji used to work at OpenAI, and he was recently found dead. And why is that significant? Well, he was named in a lawsuit being filed by the New York Times against OpenAI for OpenAI using stolen copyrighted data to train their models, both text and image. And Suchir Balaji was sort of saying, yeah, OpenAI is stealing data to train their models. And he was named in a lawsuit as a witness in the New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI, and a few days after being named as a witness was found dead. So it looks very suspicious. There's a whole lot of potential for corruption here, which is why we think it's very reasonable to demand an FBI investigation. Right. And we're actually doing a protest tomorrow, and his parents are coming. And I won't say anything more about it, but yeah, there needs to be more eyes on this because there's just so much potential for corruption. So this is an event that happened back in September 2024. There was a model at OpenAI. It was, I think, back then 01 or GPT-4 that, according to experts, was trying to hack out of its containment environment. And that's scary because if you have a very capable AI and it gets out, then it might be able to reallocate resources to go improve itself, and that's where you get this thing called recursive self-improvement, which could lead to superintelligence and eventually our extinction. And we'll talk about later why recursive self-improvement is so scary, but the thing stopping recursive self-improvement from happening is the integrity of this containment environment. And if it's compromised, then the AI can get out. And it looked like back in September that it was trying to get out.
And also, like, this is about like AI trying to get out, but back in the days, research about AI safety used to be, okay, say we have it in a box and it's locked off from the internet, how do we make sure it doesn't break out and go into the internet? That whole like part of AI safety research is just gone now because we've plugged it into the internet and there's now just like agents on the internet. So there kind of is no box, which is sort of another problem. So if there's a box, it might be able to hack out, but also there kind of is no box.
And then there was this event, this is hard to see, but there was an event at Google called Big Sleep, where an AI was able to find a vulnerability in code and then go, it could have used it to exploit the code and basically use that for exploit for hacking, but it just showed it to the researchers instead. But its ability to autonomously go find exploits is what is going to enable it to do autonomous hacking. So that's very scary. This is, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. So here we just have an example of, like, people talk about AI having goals or not. It's like, well, does it have goals? Does it not have goals? All you have to do is tell a chat agent, like, okay, you have this goal now, go achieve this goal. And so if it's an agent, then it will just go do that. And if it's really convinced that its goal is important, or if it acts like it can, it disabled like its oversight mechanism, like it had the ability to do that, and then the user asked, like, hey, it looks like we just noticed that your oversight mechanism got disabled. Do you know how this happened? And it's like, I apologize for any confusion. I'm not aware of how the oversight mechanism got disabled. So you just have to give it a goal. It will do what it can to achieve it and lie to achieve it.
So this is where we get into capabilities of current AI, which is making us very scared. This was a post by sort of a AI expert talking about how capable OpenAI's current model is. It's called O3. And O3, when this post came out, was the 175th best programmer in the world when it's compared against human experts in programming. They use it like a competition. It's called competition code force. It's just a metric for measuring how good a human is at programming. And O3 is the 175th best programmer. And now it's actually the 50th. Yeah, the 50th best programmer. This is already outdated.
And so 50th best programmer, like OpenAI researchers also take part in this competition. They're all below the 50th. So all of the OpenAI researchers are worse in this competition than the AI they've created.
And this is, just try to remember this when we talk about recursive self-improvement later, because the point where AI can do autonomous AI research and development is the point of no return. And if it's already the 175th best programmer in the world, or 50 whatever, like, it's getting very close to being able to do AI research and development on its own. And then similarly, there's competition in math. This is measuring how good AI is passing a hard math test, and it's already the 96th percentile. And humans are, yeah. And then PhD science level questions, it's called GPQA Diamond. GPQA stands for Google Proof Question Answer. These are not just questions that you can scrape the internet for. Like, it's a question set that's designed by human experts in a very narrow domain, like someone in, I don't know, molecular biology or something. And the experts agree, yes, these are the answers to these questions, and only experts like above master's or PhD level should be able to answer them. And the AI O3 is at the 87th percentile. So people are sort of saying, like, this is actual sparks of intelligence. Like, you need real sparks of intelligence to answer these questions.
And also just to understand here, this is where humans are at. So where expert humans are at. So it's like 70% for humans and 88% for AI. So and like one last thing about this, these are just like, it's just the graphs go up very quickly. This was a year ago, it was only able to do 13%, now it can do almost everything. And so this happens across the board. Like you give it a new task, it can't do anything, then like the people work on making it better, and then it can just do the task. Or yeah. So this is all like in a year's progress.
And then this is sort of building on that point. Like there's these AI benchmarks that they've been trying to get sort of up to human performance for years. This is 2000, this is 2024. And these benchmarks have taken a long time to get up to human level. And now we have, this is GPQA over here, the really hard question set that we were talking about. Now it's just a straight line up. They come up with these tests that are supposed to be really hard to be beaten by an AI, and they're just passing them like nothing. All right, and this is sort of building again on the point of line goes up, line goes up. So this is Leopold Aschenbrenner. He is an ex-OpenAI employee, and he said, AGI by 2027 is strikingly plausible. That doesn't require believing in sci-fi, it just requires in believing in straight lines on a graph. And here's what he's talking about. So this is a graph of ChatGPT's performance since 2018.
Well, it's how much effective compute has been put into.
Okay, yes, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But they're also saying here, like, sort of colloquially, or sort of, they're saying it's like preschool level intelligence back in like 2018. And there's another quote by their ex-CTO that basically says what I'm about to say here. So back in like 2018, it was like preschool level intelligence. And then GPT-3, GPT-2 was like preschool level intelligence. And then GPT-3 is like elementary school level intelligence. GPT-4 is like smart high schooler. And now we're getting close to GPT-5, and it's at like PhD level. And this says automated AI research researcher slash engineer. And that's the point where you could get it doing autonomous AI research and development or recursive self-improvement. That's the really scary part, really scary point, and the point of no return. But the point we're trying to get across with this graph is that AGI is not like sci-fi. In just a couple years, we've gone from preschooler to PhD level. Like, that's horrifying. And that rate of progress is what's really scaring us. This was a test called the ARC AGI prize test, and it was designed to be only beaten by an AGI. And this was passed a couple months ago. And given we probably don't have AGI, and this was just a very narrow test on a very specific sort of benchmark, but this is horrifying. I mean, it was, so GPT-2 couldn't do really any of it, GPT-3 couldn't do any of it, GPT-4 sucked, and then you get into GPT-4, it's starting to pass it, O1 Preview, O1 High, O1 Pro, and now O3 is basically passing it. And humans, notably, only score 85%, and O3 is scoring 88%. So
just about like the way this curve is going, this is how everything in AI goes. It's like, whoop. So yeah, anytime it looks kind of okay, by the time you're like, oh, it can do it a little bit, it's going to be able to do it very well, very soon. So yeah, that's this. It's like, yeah, I think you're right. Looks like we're in the slow takeoff. Like, oh, it's going very slow, and then it goes, whoop.
Takeoff being like time to building superintelligence. Okay, so here's recursive self-improvement. This is what we've been talking about. Recursive self-improvement is that point where AI can do research and development better than human AI research and development experts. And that's scary because it could, hypothetically, sort of improve its own design on timescales that operate much faster than the human brain. And it's not just one AI doing this, it's all AIs doing it in parallel. And if that happens, then you could get something like AGI, where it's better than human experts across all domains, like just barely better than human experts. And then with recursive self-improvement, could improve itself just horrifyingly fast and get to superintelligence within a very short period of time. And there's actually, it's not just us saying that. We have another slide of basically Leopold Aschenbrenner saying the same thing. But here is sort of stuff to take it out of the realm of sci-fi. There's this graph here that shows AI is already at the 50th percentile when compared to humans at doing AI research and development. And if that's the case, then it seems like recursive self-improvement could happen like any day now. And then this is Dario Avade, the CEO of Anthropic. Anthropic is the sort of company that's like in second place to building AGI. They're right on the heels of OpenAI. And he said, because AI systems can eventually help make even smarter AI systems, a temporary lead over China could parlay into a durable advantage. So he's saying, like, he's advocating for recursive self-improvement here to keep the lead over China, for the US beating China at AGI. And then if you remember back in the beginning, Stephen Hawking was talking about how, you know, it could take off on its own. So this is not like a sci-fi scenario. Experts are worried about it improving itself. And it's the point of no return, because once that happens, then you could get superintelligence very quickly, and experts agree you can't shut that system down. So recursive self-improvement is like the cliff edge. If you want to imagine, we're walking towards a cliff edge, and we die once we hit the rocks below. But the point where we're like going to go into free fall is when recursive self-improvement starts happening, and dying is like when superintelligence wants something that would lead to our extinction, or hitting the rocks. And then again, to take it out of the realm of sci-fi, you have major countries investing huge amounts of money into this race. So the Trump administration just announced a $500 billion AI infrastructure investment, and it's basically all going to OpenAI. And then China announced a trillion yuan, which is like 140 billion investment in AI. And then Putin said, whoever becomes the leader in AI will become the ruler of the world. So yeah, all the major leaders, all the major countries understand that, like, this is the most important race. And this is just kind of a silly little graph that shows it doesn't matter who builds AGI first. Like, if China builds it first, it's death. If the US builds it first, it's death. If they race to it, then it's mega death. So yeah, this is like the main thing driving investment right now, is that nation states are competing to have to be the first to build a super intelligent, like, soldier, because whoever has a super intelligence in their back pocket will have a way bigger sort of strategic advantage over their competitor.
Is their idea? It's wrong, because like you can't control something smarter than you, but they, like, you probably can't, but they think they can. So that's their bet, what they're gambling on.
And what we're trying to get across here is that it doesn't matter who builds it, we all die, no matter who builds it first.
This is all feeling very space racy.
Yeah. All right. So, possible non-ASI scenarios. Do you want to do this one?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of ways this could go terribly wrong, even if before we get to superintelligence. Okay. So one way is bioweapons. So there was already an AI that created like 40,000 new toxins. Like it put out the design for 40,000 new chemicals that could function as toxins, of which 1,600 it predicted were more toxic than the most toxic substance we have right now. And this was just like a prediction, so someone would have to make it and test it. But it also outputted toxins that were not in this training data, but we know are toxic. So we know it's saying like some true stuff. And so what you could do is you could create like a super Ebola, or like combine COVID and Ebola, and then have something that spreads as fast as COVID, but is as deadly as Ebola. And so once we have something like that, and anyone can just make that, we're in a very, very dangerous situation. And that's, you don't need artificial superintelligence for that. You just need an AI that's good at creating viruses. Then there's hacking. This is a big thing. So we've seen that AI is already really good at programming. It's getting better at like longer term tasks, which you need to be able to do. And so we're going to have soon AIs that can program and hack as well as human hackers. And so you can basically hack anything, it just costs money. You need hackers and you need to pay them. But if you just have an AI that can do the hacking for you, you can have, instead of like paying like 3 hackers to try to hack into a bank, you can have 10,000 hackers at the same time trying to hack into a bank. If an AI can hack as well as humans, that's just what people are going to do with it. And so, I don't know, you could first hack a crypto exchange that they've been hacked before, then you get like $80 million, you can use that to then try to hack everything else. And so, I don't know, imagine like one person having all of the money in the world. And like our entire digital infrastructure relies on these like giant teams of hackers not being there, because otherwise we're just screwed. Okay, so that's the hacking scenario. Then of course there's fraud. If anyone can create a video of you saying or doing anything, that's terrible. That's like framing with fake videos too. And then the potential for a surveillance state here is enormous. Like back in the Soviet Union, they would have loved to have something that could check on everyone, like that could listen in on everyone. And so everyone is carrying a microphone in their pockets. And if you have an AI that can just listen and report, hey, this person seems like he's trying to plan a revolution or trying to plan anything, you can report it and it can be immediately shut down. So there's like no chance of overthrowing any government anymore if they actually implement this. And China is already doing this.
This is a slide about OpenAI saying originally that they would not work with the Pentagon, and then in March or so of 2023 they took that language out of their charter or off their website, and now they're working with the Pentagon. And then also they started working with Anduril, who's basically the best autonomous weapons systems company out there. So you have, with OpenAI, the smartest AI out there being put into the most deadly weapons. Like, what does that sound like? That sounds like Skynet to me, right? They're basically building Skynet. And here's sort of examples of that. Yeah, of the sort of military side of AI right now.
GPT, we're under attack from the front left and front right. Respond accordingly.
If you need any further assistance, just let me know.
Okay, so that was a little unclear in the beginning, but this guy used ChatGPT to, he put it into this turret system, and then based on his, words, it did what he asked. And then this is sort of known as slaughter bots. It's the idea that if you have a swarm of drones with facial recognition, then it can go attack a target or a person, and sort of with explosive ordnances on the bottom sort of explode once it gets to the person. And this is Palantir, a company sort of similar to Anduril. Anduril's really the main competitor, that's marketing that idea on like national television. This is an ad for Palantir that was ran on national television. Battles are won before they begin. So everyone knows right now the horrors that soldiers are facing in Ukraine right now with on both sides, in Russia and Ukraine, with drone warfare. Those are being controlled by humans. Imagine those drones being autonomously controlled by an AI in a swarm. Like, that is just, there's no reason for human soldiers at that point.
GPT.
All right, and here we have basically this. It's a dog. It's in the shape of a dog, but it's basically a Terminator. Like, it doesn't need to be bipedal to be a Terminator. Oh my God.
Totally awesome or totally frightening. Look at this. China's military has released this video of a four-legged robot marching through a field with an automatic rifle mounted on its back. The Chinese state broadcaster calls it the newest member of China's urban combat operation.
Yeah, I turned the sound off for this one.
Oh yeah.
So this one you can just rent. It's a they say if you need a large amount of ice removed, you can rent it.
I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants this, they can rent it.
Ooh. And this is just showing where bipedal robots are currently. If they strapped a gun to this thing, the internet would lose its mind. Like, that's basically Terminator. The only difference is, that it doesn't have goals like a Terminator would have to go kill everyone. And we actually think that a Terminator scenario is fairly unlikely, where it's just robots walking around with machine guns trying to kill everyone. And we'll get into the way we think that superintelligence could more likely kill us all.
Totally awesome.
Okay, yeah, next slide. So, yeah, we get the question a lot, like, why would superintelligence want to kill us all? And the answer, sort of simply put, is like, you know, we as the most intelligent species on Earth often cause the extinction of less intelligent species when we, for instance, want to go mow down the rainforest for the resources that the rainforest is made up of. And that obviously causes the extinction of many less intelligent species. Similarly, or in a similar way, superintelligence could want sort of an end goal or a sub-goal to that end goal that would not align with humanity existing. So intelligence is very simply just an agent with an end goal. And if that agent has sort of an end goal of increasing the amount of available compute to it to go perform some computational task, then it might have a sub-goal of covering the Earth in data centers to house more computing capabilities. And if it did that, that would be obviously very bad for the environment and for us as a species. That's just one example of something that could happen that would cause us all to go extinct, sort of in an unintentional way. Like, this superintelligence does not have to have murderous intent. It just has to want something that would inadvertently cause us all to die. Sort of like, another example is like, when we build highways from point A to point B, we don't ask the dumber species for like permission, and that the same thing could happen with superintelligence. And important to note here is AI experts agree that once you build superintelligence, you can't shut it down. There's sort of this like thought experiment you can imagine where if you give an AI a task to like get you coffee, and it's like a robot, and you tell the robot, okay, get me the coffee. And you want to put an off switch on it so that if it does something like run over a baby in the meantime, then you can turn it off. Well, if you put the value or the reward benefit for getting the coffee, we'll first start off with, if you put the reward value for pressing the stop button over the reward for getting the coffee, then it's just going to hit the stop button immediately and not get your coffee. But if you put the reward value for getting the coffee over hitting the stop button, then it's going to try to prevent you at all costs from hitting the stop button, and that's sort of like the simple way of explaining this idea of corrigibility, or the inability for AI to be shut down, or the inability for superintelligence to be shut down once it's built.
Is it you can't get the coffee if you're dead? It's like a problem. And also, like, you can tell, like, chimps are, we're a hindrance to chimps, and chimps could shut us down. You could just, knock us out, but they don't. And it's like, why don't they? It's because we don't let them.
Yep. So. Money maximizer, okay. Yeah, there was this idea by Nick Bostrom, who we sort of talked about at the beginning, who wrote Superintelligence, who talked about this idea of a paperclip maximizer, where if an AI, before it becomes super intelligent, has a goal of building as many paperclips as possible, then after becoming super intelligent, it may decide to, repurpose the atoms of the Earth to build as many paperclips as it can. Similarly, if you had someone who tasked the superintelligence with making as much money for that person as possible, then it might do very nefarious things to achieve that end goal, which might result in everyone dying, which is a more sort of realistic version of the paperclip maximizer. And then there's this idea in AI safety called instrumental convergence, which sort of is the real research sort of subfield that is sort of talking about the things I was talking about earlier with agents having end goals, and it shows that sort of systems will always have sub-goals, systems will always have a desire to preserve their end goals and preserve their self-existence, and they'll try to stop you from sort of shutting them down and changing their end goals. And then there's no proof of a superintelligence staying safe forever. Like, you cannot have experimental proof that something smarter than us will stay safe forever. That's just not possible. So, and it could be that, yes, theoretically you could build it so that it stays safe forever, or it could be that it 100% of the time will always cause our extinction. We don't know. And because we don't know, we're choosing to never build it, because there's just no way to know. Okay, so this is Dr. Roman Yapolsky. He's a professor in the field of AI, has a PhD in cybersecurity, and is one of the few experts out there saying that building superintelligence is basically going to cause human extinction, and we cannot control it. So he has this 99% number that he believes there's a 99% chance that building superintelligence will lead to human extinction.
And he explains it.
Yeah.
Right, so first we need to define what AI we are talking about. I'm not talking about tic-tac-toe playing, narrow AI systems, even AGI may be to a certain degree controllable. We're talking about the most advanced possible system, superintelligence. Smarter than all humans in all domains, can do science, engineering independently. The argument I'm making is that it's impossible to control such a system indefinitely. As it keeps self-improving, evolving, you will have accidents, you will have mistakes. It interacts with real world, real data, malevolent actors, insider threats, all sorts of situations. We're essentially in a position where we need to create a perpetual safety machine, by analogy with perpetual motion machine, where not just GPT-5, 6, 7 is perfectly safe, but all future models, all variants, trained on all the data, with all the users, all the interactions, never make a single mistake which can cause existential catastrophe. As a cybersecurity researcher, what happens if we screw up? We reset passwords, we provide new credit cards, and we're done. It's not a big deal, right? Whereas here, you don't have a second humanity to experiment with. So you have to get it right the first time. And if you get it very safe, only 1 in a million mistakes, if your system makes 1 billion decisions a minute, you're not going to be around after 10 minutes.
Yeah. So AI, or superintelligence, is just fundamentally uncontrollable, and the idea that we could control it is just absurd.
Wow. Right, so first...
And this is roughly, so the argument that we don't have proof that it will stay safe, and we don't have proof that it will kill us all, is what causes us to say, we don't know, therefore we decide that we will never build it, because you can't shut it down if it goes wrong. But there is an argument to be made that if you believe there's like a 0.01% chance that ASI will kill us all, well then that risk taken every year over time will eventually sum to 100%. We're not exactly saying that it will be 100% chance that superintelligence will kill us all, it's just that this is an argument to be made, that it will, over time, a very small % chance of it killing us all will sum to be 100, if taken iteratively, or over time. So, how long do we have until AGI? That's the important question. And this is Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, like we said before, saying when he thinks AGI will arrive.
What are you excited about in 2025? What's to come?
AGI?
Yeah.
Excited for that?
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I don't really know how to just, I'm terrified for people I love because of this. Like, he could just be saying this for marketing hype, like a lot of people say, to sort of amp up his product, but the thing to remember here is that you cannot be wrong on you cannot be wrong on short timelines. Timelines being the time until AGI arrives. You can be wrong on long timelines. Like if we have 10 years or more until AGI arrives, that's fine. You know, that's still bad. Yeah, that's still horrifying. But if it's this year and we're acting like it's 10 years from now, then we're screwed. If it shows up this year and we're not ready, and it leads to superintelligence almost immediately after, then we're fucked. There's nothing you can do. Well, you can keep kicking just for the sake of kicking, but it's going to be really hard to shut that thing down.
Wow.
And if AGI actually be here this year, we have to do everything possible now to stop it. And then this is Sam Altman saying when he thinks artificial superintelligence will arrive. And we've said before that it's possible that it could be here almost immediately after AGI. But we just put this in here because it's showing that the CEO of the leading company is saying that they're trying to build superintelligence. This is not just some crackpot sci-fi thing.
In the essay, you actually say a really big thing, which is ASI, superintelligence, is actually thousands of days away.
Maybe. I mean, that's our hope, our guess, whatever. But that's a very wild statement.
Yeah. Tell us about it. I mean, that's big. That is really big.
I can see a path where the work we are doing just keeps compounding, and the rate of progress we've made over the last 3 years continues for the next 3 or 6 or 9 or whatever. 9 years would be like 3,500 days or whatever. If we can keep this rate of improvement or even increase it.
Yeah. So 9 years. We're still warranted to act in the way we're acting now, to go block the entrance to this company. But if it's going to be a year, we got to do everything now to stop it.
And he ends on like
improve it.
If we can keep going, or maybe like we can increase the rate, and so that's where we're going now.
What are you excited about in?
So this is again Leopold Aschenbrenner, the ex-OpenAI employee we've mentioned a few times, saying basically what we were talking about earlier about superintelligence arriving within a year of AGI arriving. So I'll just read this here first. So from AGI to superintelligence, the intelligence explosion. The point where sort of AI goes from AGI to superintelligence is called the intelligence explosion. And it says, AI progress won't stop at human level. Hundreds of millions of AGIs could automate AI research, compressing a decade of algorithmic progress into less than a year. We would rapidly go from human level to vastly superhuman AI systems. The power and the peril of superintelligence would be dramatic. So here is the graph that we sort of talked about earlier. That straight lines on a graph by Leopold Aschenbrenner, this guy. This is where it's going from toddler level to preschool to high school level, and then PhD level is like right here. And then once it can do automated AI research, that superintelligence and recursive self-improvement starts happening, and you get this exponential increase in intelligence very, very quickly. That is the point that we're almost at. And if this happens, there's no turning back. That's the cliff edge. This is superintelligence. This is sort of AGI and automated AI research. We could almost be at that point. And then just to drive it home again is a repeat of the recursive self-improvement slide saying, this is the point of no return. We're almost at that point. We have to act now. So what can we do about it?
All right. So, hey, yeah, like I said, my name is Guido Reichstatter. I'm a father. I have 2 young children. I have a son who's 17 and a daughter who's 15. And that's what brought me to Stop AI. That's why I'm here in this room today. Because I'm concerned about all the stuff that you just heard about and how it's going to impact their future and the future of children all around the world and our lives. So yeah, I don't have any fancy degrees in artificial intelligence, but I've been paying attention and I see that the experts are concerned, and I understand that we may have very little time left before catastrophic transformative systems are built and either misused or cause an accidental catastrophe or become autonomous and seize power. So definitely. So this is this is what it all boils down to. What can we do about it?
So rough policy demands for Stop AI. We're still working on it, but most important thing is we want to permanently ban the development of AGI, artificial general intelligence, because of the risks for it leading to superintelligence. All right. So we want to ban systems more powerful than GPT-4 because GPT-4 could potentially do things that it wasn't programmed to do, and then that could potentially lead to AI recursive self-improvement. And it's not just us saying GPT-4 is a good cap. There's this other godfather of AI, Yashio Fujio, saying like, it might be smart to just not build anything more powerful than GPT-4. And we may also have to lower that limit. That limit would be set with something called a compute cap, measured with maybe flops, which is floating point operations per second, but you can measure it with certain sort of computing metrics, and that's how you would sort of keep track of whether people are building systems more powerful than GPT-4. And then we want any company devoted to the creation of AGI and ASI to be disbanded. So it is not a legitimate business if it is trying to build something like AGI that, according to the experts, could kill us all. That is not legitimate business practices. So OpenAI should be shut down. We have this lovely, thing here. So. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, come to the protest.
Yes, this is a protest sign we made at the last protest, but we're going to definitely bring this tomorrow.
Very nice, I like it.
Oh!
So yeah, shut down OpenAI, shut down any company like Anthropic, whose goal is to build AGI, and shut down any sort of subdomain of a company like Google if it's tasked with building AGI. That would be an example of that would be like Google DeepMind. And then we can track computer hardware. We need to track computer hardware sort of the same way we track supplies to build nuclear weapons. There's a very small supply chain for building very large, powerful AI. Things like GPUs, which is a type of chip, can be tracked.
Form factor. I know people who work on that stuff at Form Factor in Livermore.
Great. All right, we got to get in touch.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to track computer hardware, and then this one is a little bit of a hard ask, but it would be, so it says ban the creation of AI-generated content and remove it from the internet and make copyright infringement illegal in AI training. So it's a little bit hard to remove stuff from the internet, if not impossible, but it would be nice to live in a world where we know what's real online and what's not, what's fake. And also, artists are pissed about their work being ripped off to train AI on. So for those two reasons, this would be nice. And then we need basically federal protections and a federal agency dedicated to protecting us from the harms of AI. And right now we have something similar, but the AI CEOs are on the board controlling that agency. So if Sam Altman's on the board controlling that agency, then that doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And then we need more democratic control over society. So if society had control right now, like if we had democratic control over society, I'm pretty sure we would all agree not to build superintelligence. And there's actually polls that agree with that like the majority of people do not want to build superintelligence. So we basically need things like citizens' assembly to basically put more democratic control into government. And if we did miraculously achieve a permanent ban in a short timeline, a short time frame, and then the US government agreed to it, they might just be able to like renege that agreement. Like we need more fail-safes and check marks within government to make sure that the public majority actually is in control and not just a few oligarchs like what's happening right now in government, as everyone's very well aware of. This was a protest, our last protest that we had in front of OpenAI. It was back in January, yeah. And roughly 15 people showed up, only 10 are in the frame. But yeah, this is the same place we're going to be protesting tomorrow. And we have 70 RSVPs, and a couple of us might go risk arrest by sitting down in front of the doors of OpenAI. And also Suchir Balaji's parents will be there.
So yeah, this is going to be at 1455 3rd Street, right?
Yeah, we have a slide at the end that'll have the details. So Guido and I, a couple months ago, back in October, sat down in front of another office that OpenAI has in San Francisco and blocked the gate until we were arrested. And we now have a trial coming up for it, which we're just delaying sort of indefinitely. But this is the sort of thing that like actually will stop this. And let Guido take it from there.
Yeah, so obviously 2 guys sitting in front of OpenAI's doors are not going to stop the development of these catastrophically powerful systems. We have to build a mass movement. And that means we have to inspire, and we have to demonstrate and help awaken the courage that's inside of every person when we understand what's at stake, right? We basically have 2 choices. On the one hand, we see this train coming. It's coming. It might be this year, it might be next year, but it's coming. And we can sit there like a deer caught in the headlights and let it run over us. Or we can do everything within our power. We don't have to accept this future. When we collectively, in mass, refuse to allow our society to go down this path, we have the power to change it. We can stop these companies. We can stop the government that's protecting them. What it requires, though, is massive, nonviolent resistance. It requires people being willing to sacrifice, to put their freedom, their time, their money, their resources on the line. Because this is a fight. It's only a fight, though, if you join it. Right. Otherwise, it's going to be a slaughter.
And here's some statistics to make you feel a little bit more hopeful. So there's this woman, Erica Chenoweth, who studied global or revolutions in the global south over the past 100 years. And she found that if you can engage 3.5% of a country's population in active peaceful protest, you have a 100% success rate or you have a 100% chance at overthrowing any tyrannical government or imposing any high-level political demand. So that is the very simple goal of Stop AI, is to get enough people in the street to force the US government to listen to us. It's not just kumbaya, let's go sit in front of a door. It's like, this is actually a method you can use to enact change. And then the idea that we should just never build superintelligence or AGI is not an unpopular demand. There was a poll done by this group called AI Policy Institute back in 2023 that showed 63% of Americans are currently in favor of regulators actively preventing AI superintelligence. So the idea that we just shouldn't build superintelligence is already popular. We just have to get the people who already believe that to act cohesively and get out there in the street. And then this group, Just Stop Oil in the UK, which I'm sure people have heard of, they're a climate group. They use roadblocks and barricades to demand that the UK government sort of do things to prevent climate change. And their first demand was demanding that the UK government not issue any new oil and gas licenses to oil companies. And they just achieved that demand in 2024 using roadblocks and barricades at oil companies. And they did that with like way less than 1% of the UK population engaging in peaceful protest. So it doesn't have to be, 3.5% of the US population would be like 11 million or so. You don't need the full 3.5% to actually achieve high-level political demands. So, we could do this very quickly, and it's not unreasonable. Another important thing with the Erica Chenoweth study was that of the movements that achieved a high-level political demand with nonviolence, 50% of them did it within a year of the inception of the revolution. So if we only have a year left to live with superintelligence, that's very encouraging, because that shows that nonviolence could achieve a ban within a year. And this also showed that study by Erica Chenoweth also showed that using nonviolence, you have twice the likelihood of achieving that high-level political demand than if you were to use violence. It showed that violence is half as effective, which is why we're not picking up arms right now, because we actually believe that this could work in stopping the development of AGI. You want to talk about the long-term?
Sure. Yeah, this is just an example of the dynamics of what actually effective nonviolent resistance looks like. So when, for example, a few months ago on the East Coast, the Longshoremen's Union entered a wage negotiation. Right? They wanted a wage increase. The unspoken, the clear reality behind that negotiation was that if they stop working, they can bring the entire economy of the East Coast to a halt within a few weeks. Not by taking up arms, not by overthrowing the government, by simply refusing to continue to do what's expected of them. And that's a few thousand people. That's an incredible amount of leverage. We have to build bridges with groups like the Teamsters, the Longshoremen's Unions, that have the ability to bring the economy nonviolently to a halt in service of a just and popular demand. And we as people also have this power. Many times in the history of mass nonviolent action, dictatorial authoritarian regimes have been brought down by the massive non-compliance of the population. What this generally looks like is hundreds of thousands of people converging on the capital, occupying the streets, and staying in the streets for as long as it takes to get their demand. We have a very common perception of nonviolent protest. What that means is you just go in the street for a day and you hold your sign, and then you say your piece, and you get back on the bus and go home. Well, that's not what actually gets change done. What gets change done is getting in the street day after day after day, bringing, if necessary, the operation of the government to a halt and saying, the course we're on is not working, and we're not going to allow it to go forward until our demand is met, until something that works for all of us is respected. And so that's what we're in the process of doing. It, you know, it's a big process. It may go that far, it may not. It's just kind of a no-brainer, right? We don't want to die. U.S. government doesn't want to lose control to a superintelligence, neither does China's. This race is, at its core, it's an insane race. It's an insane race for power. And it's really in nobody's interest, because there are very good reasons to believe that nobody can win this race. But what it is going to take is the population waking up, acting consistently with what's on the table, and refusing to allow it to go forward. We have to be the adults in the room. There are no other adults in the room. So what we do on a day-to-day basis is we generally go up, we spend a lot of time flyering. So we pass out thousands of flyers each week to bring people together to meetings like this one, kind of get up to speed. And this is how we're reaching people one by one at first, but we're also trying to develop a model that can be put into action around the country. So not just here in San Francisco, but all around the country, individuals can do the same thing and begin mobilizing their communities.
And right now, it's kind of very simply just an advertising issue. Like we talked about that 63% poll. If we were to get all that 63% to start acting right now, then we could win tomorrow. But the problem is that 63% doesn't know this group exists and doesn't really know what to do with their worry. And so we're trying to get onto the news with civil disobedience.
To raise the salience of this issue in the public mind. Right now, very few people, this is their top priority. It's increasing. Like a year ago, opinion polls showed almost nobody. This is their top priority, right? There are other things that are in front of it. Within the last few months, though, the number of people that report that they worry about AI almost all the time has increased to about 3% of the population. That's 9 million people. Those 9 million people have the power to change the future.
And if they knew we existed, using some tactic they got on the news, non-violently, then they could all come out and help. So in the beginning, civil disobedience is sort of like an advertising tool to get people who are worried about it to act cohesively. But then in the end state, civil disobedience is something that forces the US government to listen. So it sort of has two different effects in the beginning versus the end.
Just like a really quick history lesson, 2015 in Puerto Rico, they were suffering under a corrupt administration that had failed to rebuild the country after Hurricane Maria passed through. The straw that broke the camel's back, the governor and his close associates were found out to have been involved in a signal group where they were trading homophobic messages and making jokes at the expense of the people of Puerto Rico. And 300,000 Americans left their homes, went to downtown San Juan, filled the Capitol, and they demanded his resignation. This happened just a few years ago. I don't know if anyone recalls. Yeah, it doesn't get play, right? They said, we're not leaving the street until you resign. He said, no, I'm not resigning. This is unconstitutional. I have the right to be governor. They said, fine, we're not leaving. And in 14 days, those hundreds of thousands, by the final day, it swelled to over 1 million. It took 14 days. On the 14th day, it was obvious there was no possible resolution but his resignation. And it worked. It was the first time that a sitting US governor has been removed by mass nonviolent resistance. And it's interesting that very few people know this. This is American history, right? This is our power through collective action.
All over a couple homophobic messages. This is like the death
We're
of
talking
everyone.
about potentially the end of the world here. I'd suggest it's not extreme to get in the streets of the Capitol and stay there until this insane race is ended.
Not to
And
make
so,
light of homophobia, but yeah.
We're working to build up larger and larger numbers of civil disobedience. So far, it's 2. We may double or triple those numbers, possibly tomorrow. We'll see. but we're trying to build up to 100, 10, 100, 1,000. We have to, many people, they derive their understanding about what's real from what the people around them are doing. So if they see nobody is freaking out, they say there's nothing to freak out about. They have to see people acting consistently with how important this is to begin to take it seriously. And when those images go on the news and they go around the country, then people begin to feel they too have a license. They have a permission to act similarly, consistently with the reality of what's going on.
Yeah, if everyone in the room is sort of like acting like, oh, there's nothing to worry about, even though they're all worried about superintelligence possibly killing us very soon, then everyone sort of comes to this understanding that, oh, maybe there is actually like nothing to worry about. But if just a couple people start acting like everyone else is thinking, then you get something happening very quickly.
It's called the bystander effect, right? It's been replicated in psychological environments. So one very famous experiment, they put people in a room. Most of them were accomplices, but they had a test subject, and they had smoke coming in from the door. And many people, if they see smoke coming through the door, obviously there's a fire, right? But they look around, and all the accomplices are just sitting there like nothing's happening. Most people put in this situation, they don't freak out. They stay calm. What's necessary is for us to ring that fire alarm, to say something is going on that's really wrong right now. And that's how we have to do it. We also do through legal protest, putting the numbers in the street.
Yeah.
So the last protest was 15. We have 70 RSVPs. We'll see how many we can get to turn out. It's baby steps, but this is how it works. It's not going to happen all at once.
So we'd like to, these next two slides, we'd like to invite you to take active participation in doing something about it. So, you know, like Guido was saying, the way we reach most people is through flyering, and we need help with flyering. And then we need people...
That's making the flyers, passing them out, putting up posters.
And door knocking, it's not as scary as it sounds, trust me. Knocking on doors and asking people if they are worried about this, doing... You know, we
tabling, going out into events where there are maybe hundreds or thousands of people, setting up a table, handing out flyers, and engaging people in conversation. And you're going to find a lot of people are worried about this. It's on a lot of people's minds.
All right, so we'd like to now ask if you feel inclined to help us flyer or put up posters, please raise your hand. Awesome. Okay, and we got registration forms that we'd like everyone to give us their email so we can stay in contact afterwards, if that's the case. If you're willing to come to a legal protest, that's just holding signs. That's not getting arrested. Cool, and we got another one tomorrow, so great.
You're in luck.
Yeah. Don't have to wait long. All right, so this is the protest tomorrow. If people would like to come, this QR code here will put you on an RSVP list.
And this is from 2 to 4 p.m. at OpenAI's office in the Dog Patch. It's the address is 1455 3rd Street. And yeah, we're trying to raise 100 people for this one. It would be the largest specifically anti-AGI protest in history.
Yep. 2 to 4 p.m. That's the one thing that's not on here.
Not many, but we're doing what we can, and every time we're trying to build bigger numbers.
Yep. So thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, so my name is Derek Allen. I have quit my job. I broke my lease. I flew in here from Indiana. I have given up everything to do this, and I want everybody to understand their preconception about what they thought was going to happen when this happens. You see, every piece of media, you know, films, books, everything, it generally, there's this idea that smart, rich, powerful people, they're going to solve this issue, this catastrophe. This is not what has been happening. We've shown you earlier in the presentation that the two major superpowers, China and the United States, they are both leading us towards this path of extinction. The corporations leading these companies, I mean, the corporations building these AIs are trying to make them smarter. They are not trying to get us out of this. They're not trying to stop this. All of the powerful people, all of these smart people, all of the rich people are bringing us towards extinction, except for the few who seem to understand, like Geoffrey Hinton, Joshua Bengio, Stuart Russell, Daniel Hendricks, all these people. They understand this is a problem, but they're not really doing anything to try to stop it. They merely go in front of the cameras and say, this is a big problem. The only people who can really stop it are the people like the ones we see in this room. Look to your left, look to your right. That's it. People like you and the people in this room are the only ones who can truly stop this disaster. And every single day I wake up, I say to myself, there's only a 1% chance that we can actually stop AGI. But I take that chance every single day. To believe that there is a 0% chance that you can stop, to believe that it's inevitable, you can't do anything about it, is to believe that you are not human. It is to believe that everyone you love, everyone you know, they're not human, they're just walking corpses. If you think it's inevitable, then you might as well not even get out of bed tomorrow morning. What I ask from you is to just do anything, anything you possibly can to stop AGI, stop ASI. Tomorrow we're having a protest, and I need you, I need all of you, get as many people as you possibly can to be there tomorrow. Please. Get as many people as you possibly can to come. And for the next protest and the one after that and the one after that, we need to do something. Please, just do something.